Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very final episode of Teamfight Talkshow. Today is June 1st, 2022. I am your host, Frodan, and here to send us off goodbye is my co-host, Nathan, That's Admirable Zamora, as well as our two special guests from Riot's development team of Teamfight Tactics. It's Mortdog and Whittrock. Let's go ahead and get some introductions and hellos. Nathan, starting with you. You had a busy past couple of days casting the PB Clash. How's everything going, man?
Yeah, PB Clash, everything was fantastic. We're going to cover that later. Enough of me. Let's get on to Mortdog. Mortdog, welcome, and how are you doing? My gosh, it's like I have the savior in front of me right now. Like, what a fantastic... This game is my life at the moment, and I can't think of anything more. I want to know more about Mortdog and Whittrock here.
I'm tired, but I'm good. It's been a very hectic few weeks. Been a lot going on, a lot of things to ship, but the nice thing is overall the set looks like it's in the right spot, the right direction. Looks like it's going to be hopefully a success. It's just, the creator's curse. Always, all you see are the flaws. So I'm just like kind of freaking out about the flaws, but
Okay,
very, very similar. Just in the final stretches of set 7, getting on live, getting those final balance patches, bug fixes. So it's an exciting time, but it's a stressful time.
Yeah, let's actually walk through that. So for this introduction part, we usually want to get to know the guests. Everyone's pretty familiar with Mortdog, and if you watched the show, actually Whittrock too, you guys have been the most appearances on Teamfight Talk Show, period. But let's talk a little bit about the process of how patches and PB works, because we all know the 2-week cadence and how you get B patches, maybe a hotfix. PB is just madness. Every day, it seems like there's pages and pages of patch notes. So, Whitrock, can you kind of break down how that iteration process goes from start to finish?
Yeah, so we just get a lot of, more people than our development team involved in playing the game on PBE. So we're going to get a bunch of new information about balance, about bugs, about play patterns that we may have not limit tested internally or may not have even discovered. And so really every day we have kind of quick one-off discussions. Hey, do we want to change this now? Do we want to wait a couple days on PBE? And then have as close as we get to all hands on deck for, hey, this is the focus. This is where we're going to be able to make a lot of changes, because once we're live, we don't want to, have as much, the game can't change as much as it does every day on PBE.
Sure. You mentioned that there's discoveries that you didn't even necessarily intend or you weren't anticipating more. Is there an example that jumps to mind of player innovation that caught you by surprise?
So there's a...
go ahead, Witty. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's a really clear one this set, which was Legend Namzi. Maybe we play tested it once or twice, but was definitely not a big part of our internal meta. And so when people jumped on that as a build, and then we saw exactly how powerful that was, obviously made a little design change to Legend there to only work on champion units. But that was a standout one this set.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great one. So yeah.
I feel like Nathan, I kind of want to actually ask you this. I feel like this set, despite the fact that there's a ton of reading, it still feels like more intuitive for whatever reason to learn. I feel like, when compared to some of the other sets, probably because set 6 had augments for the first time, so I was just overwhelmed. Set 5 had shadow items, so I was like, what is going on? It feels like it feels like this has been the easier set to learn in quite some time. Would you agree with that sentiment?
I do feel like this set just has a lot more stronger intuition, I would say, involved with it. I just kind of look across the board at some of the stuff, and a lot of times the visual aspect of the units really matches well. Just with the traits or with the class that they're in or what have you. I do feel like the fact that we've been introduced to augments already was a big cut into that process.
Yeah, that's a good
the
point.
augments are showing up at a better time as well. I think that's a big part of it. But coming from someone who actually, I have a neural problem with reading stuff. It has to be sectioned off, or I've learned recently that bionic text is actually helping me read. I have a legitimate neurological trouble with reading if I don't section it off. This set, despite the fact that I couldn't do that, it felt like I was learning the stuff a lot quicker. I have to actually play with it and piece it together to kind of figure out how it's really working. And then when I get frustrated by something, I go, okay, hang on a second. And then I go sit down and I really read it, and it takes me a minute. But I was like, yeah, this set has just felt easier to grasp for the most part, because it feels like the things are doing exactly what they show that they're doing as well.
Yeah. Well, so there you have it. Not only do TFT players not read or have trouble reading, TFT casters also struggle with that too. So it's a shared pandemic or epidemic rather within the TFT community. You talked about augments. Let's go ahead and show our augments for this final episode. If you're tuning in for the first time, this entire season of Teamfight Talkshow was featuring augments where the chat got to vote and influence how the episode would take shape. And so for today, we have 3 more augments. However, there's a little bit of a twist. Usually we had the chat vote in the polls to try and determine which of these augments would affect the show. But for today's episode, it's our final one of Teamfight Talkshow. We said, why not all 3? So we're actually just showing this to you as a courtesy to let you know a little bit of teaser what's going to happen. We're going to start off with Best Friends as our first augment that's about to happen in the next minute or so. Then later on, we're going to do Reckless Spending and Think Fast. Best Friends is a really fun little warm up of an icebreaker as we kind of talk about who is some of our closest friends in TFT and our favorite memory of them. Reckless Spending is very fun. We're going to have to go onto Amazon and because, we're on Twitch website and also I work for Twitch. So we got to stick to our platform here. And you have to buy something on your Amazon wish list or something that you wanted to buy and share with the show what you bought. You're going to send a screenshot to the producer. It could be something big. It could be something very tiny, like a $2 item. No one really cares. And the last one is fun. It'll be a game of categories. It's called Think Fast. It's a little bit of a game show. We're going to throw out a category, and you have to name something, and it'll be the last person standing that wins the category and ultimately the competition. So there you go. Those are our augments for this episode. I'm looking forward to it. So let's jump into our first augment, Best Friends, which is each person talks about their closest friend in TFT and their favorite memory of them, whether they are part of it or not. So start off with Whittrock, our guest on the far end.
Oh, this is tricky because honestly, I play TFT and PvP games generally not with other people. I like watching streams and I like kind of being in like a call with other people at the same time. So for example, I was doing some PB last night with a friend of mine, Charles, but directly playing with people, I just tend to not do. But I'll give a shout out to Charles. Was hanging out with him last night and got to watch each other play some PBE. I don't know if this is my favorite memory, but it's my recent memory. Is he was playing a game. First augment came up. It was prismatic and had new recruit +1 team size as an option, and said, "I wonder if I can get anything more exciting if I reroll this augment." Press the reroll button and then yells +2 team size and had the Curse Crown augment. So and then took it immediately, and I enjoyed that. So shout out to Charles.
That is fantastic.
Charles, if you're listening, you're awesome. Mort, would you like to go next?
Ooh, I gotta give shout out. Runner up is Kent. Kent and I in our late night banter about balance and stuff is always fun. But I was thinking about this. Wait, my turn. I think if I have to give it to one person, one of my mods, Dino, was kind of rooting me on through the grind to Challenger last set, and I had crossed that threshold by 3 points. And this was at 4 in the afternoon, and it was okay, now we just have to see if it holds. And so I went and actually watched a movie with my family and did movie and pizza night that I was supposed to do. And we're about an hour and a half into the movie, it's almost over, and I get a message, and it was you lost it, you got to get another game. And I'm oh frick, but he was keeping an eye on it for me and helping me out. And so I played another game, had one of the most high roll games of my life, got second easy. It was really easy. And it was okay, cool, I'm good, I'm done, I made it. And that was pretty awesome. So having that sort of camaraderie towards that goal was pretty fun.
That's amazing. I never knew that. I never knew that you were that tight with your mods. That's really great. That's really cool. And that's something as a person that was created purely through TFT. How would you have met otherwise?
Yep.
I think that's really fantastic.
Yeah.
Nathan.
All right, so Dan is just very easily one of my closest friends in general, but also with TFT stuff.
Oh.
And Dan was the officiant at my wedding, for instance. Dan and I have been
That's
very
true.
close for a number of years at this point. And when we got into TFT, it was because of auto chess initially, where a championship for Hearthstone happened, and Dan and I are like sitting there trying to figure out how to play auto chess during the breaks. And so Dan, like, I think it was like for day 2, he like drove home and grabbed his laptop to come sit down, and so we could keep playing auto chess. And I had like downloaded some bootleg auto chess app on my phone where you basically weren't playing versus anybody, you were just playing versus the AI, who was terrible. But the point was, I was able to simulate the game. I had never played like a game like that before. And then Teamfight Tactics came out, and we were like, oh, this has to be good. Riot is fantastic at making games. We're gonna make this happen. And it was every single day. It was like, cast this Grandmasters event for like 700,000 hours, and then immediately sit down and start playing Teamfight Tactics. And it was just, I feel like sleep was not an option for me at this point. And then it was, suddenly I had started to stabilize and balance this really well. But I'm sitting there playing, and then all of a sudden, I'm on the 4th floor of this apartment I'm staying in for the Grandmasters event, because it's in Southern California. And I just feel the shaking start happening. And it's just this giant shaking that starts happening. I was like, what is going on right now? And Dan goes, I think we're having an earthquake. And I was like, we are definitely, this is huge. Dan is like across, like an hour drive away, and he's feeling this earthquake. And I just felt like my building was about to collapse. Despite this, I was determined to hit this 3-star Zed. So I continued rolling as I was paying very close attention to everything that was happening. Because I had, I think it was a Hand of Justice and 2 RFCs, and I was not about to give this up. And I very, very handedly got to 8 Zeds and got 5th place in that game.
I'll continue this story, and then I'll say mine, because Nathan is one of my closest friends. Absolutely. The first time Nathan discovered RFCZ, and I think he built Bramble and Warmog. This is back when Ninja Assassins in set 1. That was a special weekend, because that was the first time that I think Nathan and our group of friends found a good comp in TFT. Until that point, we were just playing champions. We thought we were cool and had some loose synergies. And so me, Nathan, and another Hearthstone developer named Reels, all of us just jammed this Ninja Assassin build all the way to like Diamond 2, and we thought we were the shit. We were like, oh my God, we're so good at TFT. It's been 2 days. It's July 4th weekend. I canceled all my plans. It was the best gaming moment of 2019. I'll never forget it, because every year there's always like one moment. 2018 was like PUBG, and 2019 was TFT. I canceled my July 4th weekend and just jammed Ninja Assassin Zed carry all weekend long. That was definitely some of the best times. I do feel like that's cheating to just piggyback off Nathan, so I'll talk about my other closest friend, Bryce Blum, in TFT. He also officiated my wedding. Wow, we have a little theme here of TFT friends and officiating weddings. My favorite memory of Bryce, I mean, there's just so many, but I have to say that casting regionals, any regionals at the Riot Studios, has to be the best moment for me with him, because we work really hard on our craft together. For casting, it's not just something that we show up and we do. It's something that we talk every day about how to improve as casters. And if we're not talking about casting, we're talking about the players and the stories or the meta itself. And so for us to be able to have this culmination casting in a live studio for the first time, it was the best TFT I've ever casted personally myself. And I remember just looking over at Bryce, say, this is the moment, right? This is a moment where you recognize that there's something more to this game than just talking about it on a screen in front of a webcam in your boxers. When you go into the studio and the lights and cameras are on, and you're watching Soju do these crazy Zephyr juggles, you're watching Spencer with his golden egg, you're watching Robin go 1-1-1-5-1-1. It was just an incredible weekend, and I'll never, ever forget that throughout my entire life. It was some of the best moments. Wow. Well, there you go. I feel like we could end the episode right there just off of great memories, but that's just one of 3 augments that we have, and we're just getting started. But we're going to put a break on our augments. We're not going to rattle them off 1, 2, 3. We're going to disperse them a little bit. Let's jump into set 7. We are in set 7. PBE is a week in, and yet it feels like almost an eternity has passed with all the changes. So let's break it down from the very top and talk about the new traits, starting from the origins. And so this is a little bit of whoever wants to talk about something special. So Nathan, out of these 4, which one do you like the most, and why?
It's easily, for me, it's Ragewing, and it's because anger is my personal spirit animal, and so anytime I'm able to harness that and favor it, it's something I definitely look forward to. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to build 9 Ragewing comps, only to realize that Shyvana actually takes up 2 slots, and I go, oh gosh, I need to go to 9, and then I panic and I end up dying. but I still have yet to get there, but I want to get there so badly. I've been one off of Shyvana 3 at this point. Just everything I do is just Rage Wing focused in some way or another. And the moment I can find a Rage Wing emblem, I stop everything I'm doing and try to get back to 9 Rage Wing. I don't know why I do it, because I'm also just trying to win all the time as well. It's just a very distracting point for me. But this is very easily just my favorite part of the set right now, is Rage Wing and how to take the most advantage of it.
I love it. I love it. Rage Wing is a really interesting mechanic. Mortar, Whittrock, whoever was closer to this design, can you talk a little bit about how it kind of came to fruition and you know what, how did it actually get to this final process? Because it's so unusual relative to other traits.
Yeah, I can talk about this one. So it really was just the starting point of, hey, we have we know that we're gonna want a more like traditional, like fire breathing, like angry dragon, origin focused around Shyvana, and a natural thing that we wanted to try and had never really dug into much before was, what if there was something that wasn't mana, and so we started trying versions of Rage where there was like an additional resource bar or like modifications to how mana worked, and ultimately we landed on this mechanic, which I don't remember who or where on the internet I saw this posted, but there was some player who was like, this feels like what it feels like mana and rage do the inverse of each other. That the way that mana works, where you take rage from taking damage, is how it works, and only attacking should be how mana works. But obviously, we already had mana had been working in the game like that since set 1. So we said, okay, how do we differentiate this from mana? And then, so it was very, very focused on the alternate casting pattern as its core, and then the outputs were more just, hey, what feels good on this set of units? And I think we actually ended up landing on a good mix of units that feel good with it in different ways, right? Like Shyvana getting a crazy amount of healing from like a big Fire Breath Omnivamp versus Xayah making great use of the attack speed, I think kind of makes the fights play out, depending on who your carry is, a little more satisfying. So
I think it's a great trade. Out of the other 3, more, you only get to pick one to talk about. Is there any one that jumps out to you as something that gets you really excited?
I think we have to talk about Revel. It's interesting because Revel during development was something we knew we wanted to do. Like, it was always there from like the very beginning. It was like, they're going to launch fireworks and it's going to be exciting and sort of that festival and happiness. But the reality was, as we were developing it, like, it just kept not really playing out and it kept not working. Like, the concept never changed, which was when your ability fires, you get fireworks. But it took a lot of iterations to get to the point where even just the base 4 champions felt well. But the thing to call out here is one of our goals for the set was that emblems and spatulas would actually be transformative and exciting and fun, because that was a complaint we got a lot in 5 and 6, justifiably so. And so Revel, I think, clearly has already been one of those leading contenders where it's like, we've seen Revel Anivia, we saw Revel Xayah that we literally had to adjust the design to deal with. Revel Shyvana is another one that's already crazy, and it's like seeing all those fireworks just go nuts. It really is that feeling of like, there's just craziness going on. It's fireworks. It's fun. And so despite all the hiccups, I think getting it there, I think it landed in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I think it's really explosive. It's really fun. Some of the augments with Revels are also a blast. If you haven't tried, Party Time, for example, it's some really crazy stuff. That said, it is a nightmare to cast. I tried doing a simulation. It's just I couldn't really know what's going on. Actually, it's funny because it works with Astral too, because Astral is like very galaxy and also sparkly. It was, there's just a lot of chaos. So there's a little bit of fight clear that probably needs a little bit more getting used to, but I like it so far. And I think a lot of people actually, I want to talk about Astral just for a brief moment here before we move on, because we do have some other trades I want to talk about, is that some people say that Astral encourages some unhealthy APM checks in the sense that you want to roll a lot, then pick up the orb. Do you take out champions or put in more Astrals as you're rolling? What do you say to that more? We're like, I don't know if this is exactly the kind of decisions I want to be making in TFT.
So we thought about it, and we definitely recognize the risk. It's like, if it ever gets to a point where it is optimal to swap in 3 Astral, do your roll down, and then swap it back, sure. But we've talked about this many times, that time is a resource in TFT, that you have to choose how to spend it and where to spend it. We've seen greedy players not do roll downs on PvE because they think they can do it all on one stage and fail. Astral kind of echoes that. And so it's like, yeah, it might be quote unquote optimal to do what you're describing. Good luck. If you can do it, great. We'll see you. But I'm kind of skeptical that really anyone can and will.
Okay.
I just love the Mortdog of like, okay, show me then. Like, prove it. Good luck. It's
I like it.
Oh, you're in silver 3. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean,
like that's what it's what it feels like it's coming from. Not that there's anything wrong with being in silver 3, but when you're talking about like a pure balance thing and like an optimization thing, like there's a certain point where it's like if you are not a high class player, it's really tough to make a judgment on that balance. It's just something I want to clarify here because I've been seeing a lot of stuff come out like on Reddit posts, which I can't believe I've started looking at again. And just reading a lot of stuff on Twitter talking about the balance aspect and just it's acting like it's such an easy thing to do, and it just really is not. It's an incredibly difficult process.
To show you how much thought we really did put into this, it really did come down to, okay, let's assume you can. Infinite APM for a second. First off, you're holding the astral units. That means you're down the gold that you could have had at any particular breakpoint, so you might be losing gold there. Then when you do your roll down, yes, you're generating orbs, but those orbs are also shops that are astral shops where you're losing 2 to 5 units that you might not want because they're astral units.
Right.
And so that value proposition is actually really low. And so when you mathematically it out, it's like on average a profit of about 1 gold every 7 rolls. Okay, if that's worth your APM and mind share, like go for it. But I'm again very skeptical in practical applications that that's actually how it works out. So that was why we were confident moving forward with it. Again, prove me wrong and we'll adapt. I'm definitely open to being wrong, but that's why we went with the call we did.
Is this what inspired Think Fast? Was a heated discussion about whether or not astral should be a trait?
I don't think so, but that's yeah.
Yeah, those from my memory kind of happened in parallel in a lot of ways. We were kind of developing different versions of Think Fast at the same time that we were approaching this mechanic for Astral. So,
well, I do think it's really interesting, but we have a lot of other stuff we want to talk about. I think these 4 out of all of them, I think Jade probably is the one that stands out to me because it kind of changes a lot of your normal play patterns in terms of how you position. Jade feels really good. Also went through a lot of nerfs, but I think the feel of it is really good, and also, of course, introduces another dragon in Shioyu. Whittrock, when you're making something like Jade, it felt like this trait had so much going for it. I was so confused at first when I was reading it because I didn't exactly know. Are you worried about these kinds of traits getting too complex or too like in terms of like overwhelming to new players when they're first looking at it?
yeah, so we're still like balancing the line between trait novelty and simplicity, right? So, and this set, I think we really did say as a reflection of what we think worked in set 6 and some of the weaknesses of set 5, let's really kind of hold the line on novelty is very, very important. We want new play patterns, players to try new things and have experiences that they haven't had before. And so that has a little bit of, sometimes we find ways to do that without a lot of text or a lot of complexity, but sometimes it's just a little more complicated to read. And in this case, I think it is literally more complicated to read than it is to play around. There's still a good amount of positioning, but once you understand how the mechanics work, I don't think it's too crazy. The final thing we think about is we think about the set more holistically. So it's, hey, for every more complicated traits we have to either read or play around, like Jade or Ragewing, we should also have very simple traits like Evoker or just straight up reprints of previous traits like Bruiser or Assassin. And so we're looking at the set more as a complete package. Here's the things that are easier to learn or simpler to play, and then here's the more novel and potentially complex stuff.
Yeah, and in the interest of time, we can just kind of go through some of these other traits very quickly. Whispered is a shred and scaling kind of trait, similar to a combination of some of the items that you see like Last Whisper and the Ionic Spark, as well as Academy. Guild is really fun. It's kind of like the Avengers. Each of these champions brings a specific attribute buff and top of a percentage scaling with each guild member on top of the emblem. And then Tempest adds a mid-fight stun as well as attack speed to all the Tempest champions. But I want to talk about Mirage. Now, Mirage is the next form of mutant, and I kind of want to go back to Mort here. When you're looking at Mirage, what really what are some of these traits that you're picking from particularly? Are you picking the traits first, then designing the champions, or just taking the champions and seeing what we can get away with? Like, how does this actually go down?
Okay, so Winnie can answer this too, but the truth behind Mirage is that this was one of those like last minute come together kind of, definitely wasn't our first or best thing that we had on the paper. That's stuff like Guild or Ragewing. This one though, we knew we wanted to bring back Mutant right away, and we had the champions already picked out. We knew the theme, and the first draft actually we had about 4 traits, and I think of those the only one that survived was Dawnbringer, and it was actually more. We went with this philosophy. We were going to try them all being team wide. They were all going to be team wide buffs, and
dear,
yeah, we tried it, and it didn't work. It was just like it was always low satisfaction. The traits we had to pull from just weren't particularly fun, and we were kind of running out of time and hitting that point where it's like, oh crap. And that's where I'm going to pass over to Witty, where it was just like, okay, we just have to like pick and go because we're out of time. And so Witty actually, like, again, Witty was the one I'm like, Witty, we have like 3 days, go.
Yeah, and from there it ended up being we just clarified, let's not do team wide at all. Let's make selfish stuff and pirate, which was definitely risky, but we're like, hey, let's like have one of these be very different than any of the other ones. But for the rest of them, it was, hey, we already know what the champions are. Their like patterns and itemization are pretty much set in stone. So let's point at what would make a really good Leona reroll build, or what would feel really good on Deja, or what would feel good on both Yasuo and Yone, right? And so we were just trying to kind of mix and match those while maintaining, a level of simplicity, because at a baseline, Mirage and Mutant are already very complicated to think about an entirely new trait every game. And then pick from things that can be call outs to past experiences, but in most cases a little like simplified or trimmed down. So
who's the carry? It's a Mirage. We don't know yet. We have to see the trade.
Thank you, Nathan. Are we pretty happy where Mirage landed? It felt like there's a lot of tweaks across the board on small percentages, but it feels like there hasn't been anything egregiously broken from Mirage.
I mean, it's not about whether it's broken or not, right? There's always some number we can change. But as far as like the play pattern, I think generally they feel pretty good, and there's like enough differences. I think Warlord's maybe like the dullest, where it's just like, yep, they gained some stats. Okay. But the rest are actually pretty interesting. I think Dawnbringer's yet to fully been explored. I think Pirates is like, anytime it's a pirate game, you can see we've already got the
it's so fun.
Yone Leona openers OP. What the hell can we nerf this? And that's good. Like, we want that. And so I think generally, 5 out of 7 are probably really good here, and the other 2 are fine. So.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about another trait that also has a lot of associated reading. It's Shimmer Scale. Now, you just posted in your patch notes that one of these items has been removed temporarily. It's Philosopher's Stones in the bottom right. If you don't know what it is, we have the text up for you on the screen. Shimmer Scale is also just a lot to take in. I mean, you have already the normal items, and you have Ornn items, which actually appear more frequently because there's more Ornn augments now in the game. And now we have Shimmer Scale items. Where does it end, Whittrock?
Yeah, so this I really like where Shimmer Scale ended up. Obviously, it's definitely one of the more like expansive and complicated traits. But it was one of the newer designers to the team. Sam really tackled this as a project. We have conversations every set nowadays about like, hey, what is the like econ traits of the set, and trying to split out the player fantasy of literally playing, mercenary or fortune, like lost streak into big payout, which is obviously a fun and good like econ play pattern. But we're like, hey, we can't do just variations on that exact play style every single set. We need to be willing to try new things, and so this I think was an awesome stab at that. I know it's still going to be very challenging across like getting the items in different orders and how it plays out with all the different carries, and if these are the exact right items. But I mean, more you can talk maybe more about like, hey, how is this landing? And
well, I mean, I wanted to talk about this one a bit because this felt like my favorite development story from this set because, like I said, Sam's one of our newer designers, ex-rocket engineer, so smart guy, loves TFT.
Wow.
Literally rocket science.
Yeah. Yeah, he worked on Bezos's rocket or whatever, but yeah. Anyway,
wow.
yeah, smart guy. So he, again, like any junior designer, he came in with a pretty wild idea, which was like, what are we going to do? He wanted to make shimmer scale, and it took a couple iterations. But as we got there, he got it down to like, okay, we've got these items, and he had pretty rough examples of each. For example, Crown of Champions used to literally give you +2 champions and your whole team plus like X% damage for the amount of gold you have. And that was when it was one of those nice things about Return to Office. He and I sat there together and powwowed for like an hour and a half of just like, how can we refine these? And went back and forth and had one of those really fun jam sessions that two designers have when they get in the groove and like figure it out. And we went through every item and kind of like talked about the risks and what could work. And I remember even like Crown of Champions, I'm like, what if we just let it do infinity damage every 4 seconds? And he's like, you can do that? And I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's go. It'll be fun. Because really the item says every 4 seconds, kill a champion. Okay, but doing infinite true damage is hilarious. And like, let's do it. And even Philosopher's Stone was a great example because that was something Sam really wanted to get in. And I was like, it's going to have issues. Here's all these problems. But I was like, okay, you know what? Let's try it on PBE. Let's see how it goes. And Sam's like, yeah, worst case, we can just delete it. We've already got like 7. We only need 5. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, we tried it on PBE, and it had some problems. Let's ignore the bug for a second. It's a hard item. And so, we deleted it, and the plan worked. But it just, I don't know. It's exactly what I like looking for in like a newer designer to like that relationship. And it's an amalgamation of a lot of good ideas put together. And it was a risk because, as Whitty said, it's not the usual fortune, kind of loss streak mechanic, but hopefully with the right values, it'll still be fun and generate a lot of gold, and everyone will have a blast with it. So,
I think people are having a blast with it. I was in a game today. I hadn't seen Crown of Champions yet. Everyone had rolled different items. There's a Bard 1 that held Crown of Champions, and I didn't really read it. And then I looked at the post-combat. It did 3 million true damage. It's a 1-star Bard with only Crown of Champions. I had 3-star Leona, 3-star Tari, 3-star Braum, which is one-shotting all these Guardians. And I couldn't believe it. And I was just like, I can't believe this item exists. It was completely wild.
Nailed it.
Also, the flavor on point. It's over 9,000 times. It's great. The determined investor that turns into diamond hands because you lost too many times. It's just really good. Really, really good stuff. Also, Mogul Mail, Ludwig, please don't sue us. Let's talk about a couple more traits here before we go to the classes, the origins. So we have Dragon. Everyone knows the Dragon is the main set mechanic. Spell Thief, Star Caller, and Trainer. I think the first one I want to talk about is the Star Caller, of how it heals the champion. This used to be an augment. Now we're putting into the power of champions, and then we're also deleting champions if we're overhealing. There's some wild stuff here, and I think people are saying you're kind of breaking some of the rules of the game, but I think that's what makes TFT really interesting. I feel like y'all agree with this more.
Yeah, for sure. So Starcaller is an interesting one because that's another one that our set lead, Julie, had on paper pretty much from like day one. It's like Soraka's going to be a 5 cost, and she's going to heal your little legend. That's going to be the twist. And we've never done that twist before other than through the augment. And it's like, okay, sounds interesting. And we pursued it, and we got it in like there were playtests where Soraka's spell would heal, and then any excess healing would get converted into damage. And what ended up happening was like double death cap Soraka would wipe boards, so that didn't work. And that felt really weird to have a Soraka wipe boards. Spoiler incoming. So we tried a few iterations. And like it was also like you could make stall comps where your little legend would heal like 20 because it would cast multiple times. So we had to do okay, it's once per fight, got it. And so overall it got to a good spot, but then we ran into that problem where it's like, okay, but how do we make 3-star Soraka good? She can't heal your team for infinity. That's not interesting. So we settled on the 100 healing on little legend. We're like, it's going to heal you back to full. That'll be crazy. And then we're like, okay, but now what if you keep losing? What are we going to do? And we're like, maybe it won't be a problem, but really it will, and it was. And then we kind of like had to like figure out what we were gonna do. We had one iteration that it was gonna do the damage to the enemy little legend directly, but then one of our tech designers, Skip, correctly pointed out like, we have nothing to handle doing little legend damage in the middle of combat. What are you doing? Please stop it. You know? So that's where we had to like, okay, crap. What if it dealt the damage to the enemies? And it's like that's how we got our, our condition. But and that's where it opens up the like Soraka 1 when you have 100 health, being able to kill 1 or 2 units. Like that's kind of fun. And so it was quite a journey, but I think overall it ended up in a pretty good spot.
I love that journey. Speaking of journeys, it's been quite a long path getting Zoe to be cooperative on PBE. Whittrock, can you talk a little bit about the struggle with Zoe? Why was she summoning Daisy to attack my backline?
You gotta pay for being a thief sometimes, Dan.
those wild evil daisies that are betraying your team. No, I mean, as we get down to PvE, sometimes in this case it was literally like, hey, we had one Zoe bug with like clone armies and how the mechanic was operating. Fixing that created a different issue, and so this is what PvE is literally for. And I know it's it can be a rough experience as people are trying to test out comps and optimize and win their PvE lobbies, but some of it is also for us to catch and fix bugs. But hopefully people are enjoying kind of the Zoe play pattern now that it's not a grief to put her into your comp.
Absolutely. So we have those are all the origins. Traits are a lot of reprints for the sake of what they Whittrock and what we're talking about, like assassins and bruisers. I want to bring up just a couple. I guess we're going to go through them very quickly. So Swift Shot feels like the reinvention of snipers. The more distance you get, the more attack speed. Pretty straightforward from there. Assassins, you know them, you love them, or hate them, or if you're Riley, you only play them. Mort shakes his head. Why are you shaking your head, Mort?
Okay, so again, one of these dev stories is while I am the design director, I don't, like order everyone around, but one of the things I was really hoping we could have done was just like, I'm tired of literally assassins. Like, it's like, can't we do something else? And the answer is, I think we all had the interest and wanted to, even, Julie and Witty. But when it came to priorities, it's like, no, there were so many other things to do. We just never got around to swapping it to something else. And, there are players that really like those assassins. It's it creates strong feels. And what was it? Brad always used to say that, like, if you're not creating strong feels, you're not making exciting design. An assassin does that for better or worse. So it's not the end of the world. As a player, I don't enjoy them, and I hate it when they're meta. But as a lead, it's fine.
Okay. I enjoy having the availability of assassins, but I get it. Some people just don't like it when they jumps over the front line. Feels a little cheese to them. But we do have some other traits that are also very similar. Evoker is, if you played Scholar from the last edge, it's a mana generation tool, although the conditions are different. Shapeshifter, a throwback from set 1, but, those are some of the most iconic moments in TFC. I think about the first time I saw Gnar transform in Teamfight Tactics and then do his big Mega Gnar sweep to throw everybody to the side. Let's talk a little bit about some other traits here. I think the more interesting one is Warrior. It feels like we tweaked some of those numbers. But in terms of like what they actually do, they feel pretty straightforward. Cavalier is back as well, but they don't have the damage reduction because I think the damage reduction was problematic last time, Whittrock. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, swap here to armor and magic resist, and we actually didn't have a whole lot of like armor and MR traits in the set, so we were more able to easily fit that in there. Whereas in set 5, we were kind of looking for more ways to give out defenses. But I'm pretty happy with having a very different set of units as well as as much as Rel was the big Cavalier that was memorable. I think it's very good that this doesn't involve Rel and has different kind of unit patterns to it, including now Cavalier, Nunu, and Willem.
Yeah, I think that's a really fun twist on Nunu. So I have a Bruiser, he's a Cavalier. Let's talk about the next slide as well. I think these are some of the more interesting ones. Let's point at the Legend. Now, Legend trait, the first time I saw it, my brain wrinkled 10 times. I had no idea what was actually happening. I sacrificed my Jade statue. I sacrificed my dragon. I sacrificed everything that I didn't want to by accident. Nathan, this was so frustrating. I think you were watching me play these first games where I was just trying to make it work. And then all of a sudden, people figured out that you just stacked the Volibear, and the Volibear got way out of control on PvE.
That is what it feels like. What inspired Legend on this regard? Because this is like such an unusual trait. Like normally you're putting champions in play to, have them in play, but this one is like you're putting them in play to not have them there suddenly, but their spirit is still there.
Yeah, so this came about as we were looking at the set, and I think this may have literally been the last new trait that we added, and we added it, literally just on top of these 3 units, right? Like Legend does not need to exist in the set. All 3 of these units could have Legend removed and still be, 2. We always have 2 traits and then occasionally 3. But we added Legend as a way to kind of have another type of combo. It's a tiny bit inspired by, these from like a League Runeterra lore perspective are all the, Freljordian gods. And so this is, an interpretation of what that fantasy looks like, but in Dragonlands. And so things that were important here was that they were, they're not dragons. They're a different type of literally a legend, in kind of the meta universe. And then in terms of mechanic, we were looking for something that would also just feel different than dragons, but different than playing kind of a more traditional, like vertical unit comp. And so we landed on, hey, what if it's significantly buffing these 3? I mean, we're literally calling them legends, and you get a lot of power budget when you say, oh, to have this trait operate, you have to delete 3 units. And so then some gameplay. We also talked about, like, this is perhaps we expect one of the most difficult to play traits we've ever made. There's a lot you have to think about in terms of positioning, who you're sacrificing, who you're itemizing, if you're going to sacrifice everyone. And so I'm glad people are kind of trying different builds and experimenting with it. So we'll see how it continues to play out.
Gosh, my head's going nuts right now. I didn't even really think about it, but this is kind of like a dragon. Like a dragon takes up 2 slots. This is taking up 2 slots.
Yep.
That's good flavor. That's good flavor.
Yeah, and the with the Nomsy and Target Dummy and Jade Idol thing, like originally we were like, that'll be kind of cool, but we didn't want to make the same mistake we did with, I think, like Voracious Appetite Mutants, where it was like, you must play this with Zerat Portal, otherwise it's unplayable. And so that's where that's where Legend was going, right? It was like, well, if you have Target Dummies or Nomsy, great, otherwise don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And we wanted to nip that in the bud real quick, so that way if we need to buff it, we can, but it'll actually play out as that fantasy of like, no, you got to eat champions. So
if you eat a champion with a Zerat Portal, does it summon the...
It does.
Ooh.
Yeah, the destruction effects work.
Yes!
People are like, you should play Legend and sacrifice your Olaf so he gets 5 AD. I'm like, yeah, but then I don't have Olaf killing anything. I've had some very wild suggestions being thrown out my way. But this is the first. I can tell this is the first time Nathan's heard it because his eyes are shifting left.
Oh
right,
yeah,
so
I've been studying just like what it means when a player's doing something pattern-wise because I had to cast this PBE event with like 32 world-class players, so figuring out their patterns was freaking difficult.
So assuming good balance, the one I like is assuming Volibear gets to a good state. Volibear with Ginsu's Quicksilver and Bloodthirster, so it's like full offensive, standing next to an Itis with like basically defensive items, Bramble Dragonclaw. So he gets all the health, all the armor, all the MR, and he's CC immune, Bloodthirster going Ginsu.
right.
And you get like 5 Shimmer Scale, so it's like great times.
I've enjoyed twice so far. I've been able to play Legend plus Best Friends, and the idea that you're just sacrificing your best friend is
oh my gosh,
very enjoyable.
That's hilarious.
All right, I don't even have to try it anymore. I just know that this is going to be like the way that breaks the game. I don't know how it's going to do it, but somehow someone's going to win a world championship with a 3-star Legend. It's just that's my hot take today.
3-star
Probably
Legend
someone
with
from
best
China.
friends.
It's probably someone from China. We'll talk about more of that in a sec. One last thing as we bring up very quickly the Bard and the Mystic. Mystic, pretty straightforward, the magic resistance trait. Bard, if you haven't already seen, is Bard's special effect. Very fun and scales your probability. I do notice, I'm just going to kind of do a slight aside. It feels like this set, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mortar Whittrock, it feels like this set has even more triple traits than before. And that was a common source of the Twitlongers last set, and now we have even more triple traits, and yet it doesn't seem to be a source of big complaints in a lot of the players' feedback. At least not from what I've seen. Is that the case on your end as well?
So there are more triple traits. I wouldn't call it intentional. And what's interesting is if we would go back through like our set design, like Woody kind of mentioned, Legend was one of the things we added a little later. And so it was like, okay, who are we attaching this third trait to? Because all the legends are triple trait. But like that doesn't make them bad or doesn't make them triple trait problematic, right? It's like there are certain triple traits that work. There are certain triple traits that don't. And we just have to keep a close eye on those. In Soju's Twitlonger, he mentioned like the 2 cost that you want to put in every comp. And like those can be problematic. We've been looking at openers, especially really keeping an eye. Like I think Ashe is probably the one we've got our eye on the closest. If Ashe becomes too good, that actually can be problematic.
Right.
But again, that's where, as we keep developing TFT, we're learning and learning and learning. And so, but yeah, it's not that triple traits are inherently bad,
No. In fact, that was part of the argument in one of your videos, which was maybe we should do more of it. And I was like, that'd be really funny if Set 7 had more triple traits than it does. So it's just a little funny callback.
Not related, right?
Not related. It's just funny how it worked out that way.
Yeah.
Funny how it worked out.
I'm just waiting for the quadruple traits. I
like Set 42. Everything is just 5 traits in TFT.
So for those who just missed it, what happened is Woody raised his eyebrows, and because he's like the creative designer on the team, he's considering it. And because I'm the director, I'm going, the engineers and artists will kill us. They will literally kill us, Woody. Stop it.
It's just a hidden. It's a 4th hidden trait. You have to figure it out.
Oh, okay.
I like it. That'd be super fun.
Because we've joked, but like the amount of text on the shop card, like, come on.
So just a random aside, Riot designers are notorious for trying to get a little bit too creative. I forgot who exactly was designing Aphelios, but there was a story about how during design process, they wanted to have the state of the moon in the sky affect Aphelios' power level in the game. So based on like if it's a half crescent or a full moon, Aphelios' power change. So that way, whenever someone looked at the moon, they say, "Oh, I have to go play because Aphelios is really good right this moment to be able to play on Summer's Rift." So some of these designers, man, they just get so.
That is a true story. That is 100% a true story.
Oh my god, that's hilarious! I can't believe it. But we talk about callback mechanics, and this next one, the Treasure Dragon, this is the main set mechanic for Dragonlands, is a fusion of Armory with a couple of different twists in it. Let's talk a little bit about the Treasure Dragon, how we landed upon it. I would say that so far, it's a resounding success. I think most people really love it. They feel like they have agency, but there's a lot of exciting moments, and there's still that tension. Can I greed for something more, or do I actually want this, or can I actually do I need every piece of gold because I have to quick level and roll? How did this design come about, Whittrock, and where do we how do we land upon the Treasure Dragon specifically?
Yeah, so the story of the Treasure Dragon is the starting point was actually whether or not we were going to keep augments in the game. So we were trying to decide, hey, should we keep them? Should we and if we do keep them, how much should we change them? How much content should we rotate out? Like, should we add the reroll button, which we ended up doing, for example? So we were talking about that, and we said, okay, if augments are still in the game, we can't add another augment-sized mechanic, right? You're talking about the set being, difficult to learn. We weren't going to add another big set mechanic on top of it. So we were looking for smaller set mechanics, in terms of how impactful they are on the game, and smaller in terms of how inflationary they are in the game. One thing we have to be very cautious of is, turns out we can't just give you too much free stuff between gold and items and, champion duplicators, or else everyone's just going to be, 3-starring their 5 costs every game, and that won't be special anymore. So we tried a variety of mechanics that kind of manipulated your shop more directly, or had you make kind of more special shopping decisions? Like it had pieces of chosen occasionally, like, oh, what if you just saw a 2-star, of a certain unit sometimes, or if you could buy item components, or a few of the things we experimented with. And then finally, every version of that kept running into the same problem, which was people were nervous about a set mechanic that was exchange gold for something else. And so we said, what we need to do is we need to deflate the game somehow so that we can kind of give you stuff. And so we said, what if we took this pain point that players have, which is, Raptors RNG, having your final build, messed up by not getting the final components you need. What if we deleted Raptors entirely and added something there that has a little bit more agency in gameplay with still, risk reward and trying to make greed plays or sometimes get a little lucky. So that's kind of how we approached creating the Treasure Dragon. Honestly, it was pretty smooth sailing from there. We didn't have a whole lot of variations on that mechanic. We said, we're going to have you pick a package. We're not going to make you spend money on it, and we'll let you re-roll it. And players already know what re-rolling is. So let's see how that plays out. And I think it's playing out pretty well.
I think so too. And I've personally enjoyed it a lot. I know Mort probably has a lot of fun with the loot, the potential loot tables you can get. Because you said I actually never seen it, but you can get Tactician's Crown in there. You can get duplicators.
Champion duplicator. You can get 3 loaded dice. There's a 50 gold option. And the odds of those are
50 gold option.
There's a 50 gold option.
Oh my gosh. I've never gotten that either.
Yeah, the idea is that they're all supposed to be balanced. But trade-offs, right? It's like, is 50 gold good when you have to give up 4 item components of value?
Right.
Question mark? And you remember those Twitter polls I was doing? That was where I was kind of seeing people's opinions. If I can, I'll try to be quick. There's one thing about this whole mechanic that I think was really cool to touch on. Because the mechanic we were trying I'll cut out a bunch of the details, but basically in the shop, there would be an egg that you could buy an item component. Okay. Mm-hmm. So imagine there's an item component in your shop. You see a bow for 8 gold. Okay.
Right.
And what we kept trying was we would change that number, right? Maybe it's 8 gold, maybe it's 7 gold, maybe it's 6 gold, maybe, yada, yada. And the line between, I don't know if I should buy this and therefore I pass on it and feel bad, versus I must buy it at all times, was so thin. It was paper thin, where it was at 5 gold, you felt like you must buy every item component. At 6 gold, it was too much economy loss, and I don't want to play the game. And either way, it's screwing up my economy. And we could not get to a world where players wanted to make a decision with their gold. They were already trained to use their gold in a certain way. And that's what led to this big realization where we're just no matter what we do, we can't make them pay for it. And that big realization got us to, okay, well, if we literally can't interact with the gold system, what do we do? And that's, as Whitty explained, that's where it went down the road.
Man, I love hearing design stories because you tackle a problem and then you realize you just flipped the script on its head and just reverse it. And then all of a sudden, it's solved elegantly in a great way. I think that's really fantastic. Let's quickly show the new look of augments. We do have new augments in general, which we don't have a lot of time to break it down. But and it's partially for you to explore, right? The idea is if we broke down every single new augment, we kind of ruined the surprise for y'all who are still learning the set. But the feel of it is very different. It's no longer a hex core. The intervals are changed as well: 2-1, 3-2, and 4-2. Gold augments are more common now. And then you get a 1 reroll per game. So there's still a lot of revamp to augments. And I guess, specifically, I think my favorite is augment reroll. I feel like that's been a highly requested feature of it. Was that something that was always planned, or did the players beg enough? And as a result, you said, you know what, we should probably do something like that.
No, we knew, I want to say 3 months ago that we were going to do that. We knew it was always something on the table. We were look, augments are going to stay around. We've got to have a twist. Honestly, sometimes it was kind of hard to keep the secret of look, we're going to do it. I hear you begging, and it's happening. So it was one of those things. Honestly, we barely. I'm not gonna say we barely tested it, but we were just so confident in it. It was all right, it's in, sweet, cool. Yep, it's fun, cool.
And it's really fun.
So
It has a lot to it, but it's good stuff.
Yeah, real quick on the augments, I just want to say, so developing TFT, we keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger, which turns out makes making sets harder and harder and harder. And so we came to set 7, and we've got our design team trying to make set 7, and we're like, but who's gonna do the augments? And it's like, we don't have time. Who the hell? So thankfully, I just kind of reallocated, and Kent stepped up. Kent did a ton of work on these augments, and so almost not purely solo, but basically kind of took the lead and did a lot of the work with a little bit of help from a few other people on a few days. And so, for better or worse, if you like these augments, like, you got to give Kent the props here. He really put a lot of effort into this.
That's great. And I think we're still in the discovery phase. At least I know that I haven't encountered any augment that I straight up despise. I think that's a great sign, because the idea is that the first time you think like you encounter some of these augments, you're like, how is this actually fair or whatnot? I haven't really encountered it yet, but the days are still young. There's still much time to complain.
Cruel Pact.
Oh, you're right. Cool Pact. Cool Pact. Actually, okay. I actually haven't had it. I've taken Cool Pact, but I've never had Cool Pact taken against me to basically, kill people by stage 4. But I stand corrected. You're right. Cool Pact is definitely one of them. Well, that said, we do have a new set and also new cosmetics. We'll briefly show you just some of the new flashy stuff that you get to show off your personality in TFT. Here's some of the new arenas. We have the Shimmerstone Fields and the Dragon Nursery and Black Cliff Gorge. But I think a lot of the talk of the town is the new little legend. You have Chibi Yasuo hopping into the mix. And there is a Dragonmancer Yasuo version that has a finishing video. Do we have that available to play right now? We do. Which has spawned a new series of Twitch chat memes called Dies of Cutscene.
Oh, Dies of Cutscene, that's right.
Where you eat the little legend of your opponent, and then you slice them in half into the shimmering moonlight. It is fantastic. Which is a perfect segue into our next segment, Agree. Agree is a segment where we throw out a hot statement or a hot take and ask the entire panel on the show if they agree or disagree. And the first one is related to what we just saw, which is the Yasuo finisher animation should remain unskippable for everyone involved. This has been a surprisingly hot button topic in the community. Some people's like, I don't want to watch myself lose, or I feel like I don't want any part of this. And yet they are being dragged into the mix and people are on both sides. Now, Whittrock, I feel like I know what you're going to say, but please go first here. Agree?
Let's see. It's phrased as remain. So if I say it should be skippable, I am disagreeing, or
yes.
But yeah, so and this is purely a personal thing. I am when I play PvP games, I am like hypersensitive to things that like throw me out of the flow. So like I don't buy certain gun skins in Valorant because I don't like pieces of audio are messing with me. And and I think I'm like in a minority there. So purely as a player, and there's I think good reasons to have it the way that it is currently. I want the skip button, or whatever. More. I think there's more elegant solutions than that as well, is what I'll say. But
I had you pegged as an agree for whatever reason. I wasn't sure what Mort would say. So now I don't know what to expect. That's a disagree from Whittrock. Mort, what do you think?
Okay, so I have to preface this with anything I say is not a promise of any product being delivered. Because I don't want, this is my personal opinion. This does not mean it's coming. So I don't want to see Reddit posts. It's like, Mort said something. No. Okay. That aside, it's funny because I've worked on League of Legends on like emotes and was around when they were developing Eternals and things like that. We've dealt with this problem, I think, like 4 different times now, which is like, here's this cool thing. I don't want to see that cool thing. Make that cool thing go away. And the solve is the same every time, which is you put an option in the game that allows you to skip it. You hide that option in like 3 layers deep in the settings. So it exists, and for the players that really, really, really feel that passionate about it, They can go in there, turn it off, and be fine. And because that option exists, everyone's like, shut up, you can skip it, leave it alone. But because it's 3 layers deep, no one does. Very few people actually disable them. Very few people actually disable the emotes. And everyone wins. And so everyone's happy and there's no problem. So I guess my answer is I disagree, and we should just do the same thing we've done every other time, which is if you really, really feel that bad. Now, the one trick has to be for the person who bought it, they still see it play out, because you don't want to know your opponent skipped it, basically. Otherwise, that's just like, now it's stupid.
Oh, yeah. I definitely,
right, fair enough.
I definitely on the side of you should never know if somebody skipped it or not.
Correct.
But my introduction into esports and part of the spark of my passion was StarCraft. And it's the loser in StarCraft who says GG. Not the winner. If the winner says GG, it is a bad take. Like, if you say GG is the winner in competitive StarCraft, it is like, what are you doing? It'd be like if somebody like got their ice cream cone as a child and then watched it fall onto the ground, and the ice cream guy who just sold it to him went, "Is it good?" Like, it's just not what it was. It's the loser's determination in that aspect of, is it good game or not? And I completely disagree. Like, there should be 17 X's on mine, I feel like. I hate when this thing shows up, because I know I'm not going to have it. Because even if I did, I wouldn't want to put somebody through this personally, because I'm way oversensitive when it comes to this topic. But when I see that thing, I have pressed /FF the fastest in the West right now, and I am very worried about my ladder experience and never winning the tiebreaker when I lose the round if somebody has this against me.
Wow. Well, it's going to be hard to go up after that. I feel like I'm the only person that's going to smash the agree button. You shouldn't skip. Someone on the... first of all, I don't know what it's like to lose to this, because I don't lose, so it's not actually something that happens to me very often. So if you don't want to see this happen, stop losing and get good. The second part of it is, people are going to be spending $100 or more on this thing, and the least you can do is sit through their best option to pay to win. This deals mental damage to every player that sees it, and you goddamn right I want them to sit through it with me. We're in this together. TFT is already a lonely enough game. We're sharing this social moment. I want you to revel in your defeat. So yes, I agree. I think it should remain unskippable. I think that it's just part of the fun, right? Like, and also, I say we don't go enough. I think we need more finishers. We should go back, give Vi a finisher, give Jinx a finisher. Yasuo somehow finds a way to just say the line from Overwatch, right? The Hanzo line, Ome wa mo shindoru. Like, I want everything about this just to tilt my opponent off the face of the planet. Because there's one thing I've realized, is that the only easier edge than actually looking up data is trying to attack the mental fortitude of TFT players, because they cannot handle the slightest bit of disruption.
All right,
Where's Chad say? Chad agrees with me. Let's go, Chad.
Future product should tilt opponents. Got it. Notes taken.
Hang on, I'm making a Reddit post about this right now, and done.
It was actually kind of close. 60% or 58% for agree.
That's very not close. That is heavily in the agree favor.
We've had some like 80, 90%ers, but I'm glad that one was a little bit more divisive. Let's go to our second agree. That was a good first one to get things warmed up rather. PB is too short and should have a longer lead up to set release to allow more refinement or significant changes. This one's really hard for us to say. It's really more about what Riot designers think. So I'm curious. Let's start with Mortdog here. Mix it up.
Hard disagree. I could not disagree more. In a perfect world with infinite time, infinite resources, infinite money, what would actually be best would be we figure out ways to do all this balance without needing it to go on PBE. We find all these bugs without needing to go on PBE. And the hype of releasing it live to servers initially is the best possible experience. The fact that right now different players are getting their first day experience at different times than different others is just atrocious. Lengthening this out would just be like awful. It kind of reminds me of Set 2, where like we didn't turn on ranked for the first patch, and holy god, what a mistake that was. Just everything about PBE, like no, like I said, if I could eliminate PBE, I absolutely would. So hard to disagree.
Wow, you would sooner go the other direction and rather
Again,
cut
assuming
PvE.
I could do it with like and actually accomplish a high quality set and shipping it. Right now, it is
Sure,
a necessary evil. For if anyone remembers, the Odyssey game mode in League of Legends was the one time we tried. Let's just dark launch was I think the term we used, where we just dark launch it. It didn't go to PBE. It surprised players, and the amount of effort that took to make that a reality was such a nightmare that it's like it's unrealistic to get to this world. But again, assuming infinite time and resources, that's where I would go.
Okay. Whittrock.
So I'm also a disagree. Particularly, my disagree is more about I think the experience of like jumping onto live, and one of the things that you are able to do to get an edge on other players is to try to solve the meta faster than other people, right? Like explore builds that might not be popular or might not have been played a lot, and more PBE time, I think, creates this problem where if you just don't want to play PBE because it's buggier, it's less balanced, you're not climbing LP, then you are at some amount of a disadvantage in the meta solving game than other players. So BB is still very valuable, but extending it, I think, makes that problem worse. And I think that's a good experience for TFT. So,
Okay, fair enough. Nathan, I feel from your perspective, and we're not designers, but from the person that's participating and kind of watching us unfold, what do you think?
I definitely did disagree at the start. I didn't really know why I did, but kind of after hearing these reasonings from Mortdog and Whittrock, it really makes a lot of sense. Like the live aspect of release would just be fantastic, but again, that's just infinite time and resources. That's never going to exist. And then just the idea of very much, I'd say I didn't really pick up on doing data research until like set 6. Honestly, I kind of just wanted to explore everything for myself and see what I could figure out and just provide my perspective where it was being offered. And after I just hear this reasoning, I'm like, oh yeah, this all just makes total sense now. I know why I disagree with it. It's just pretty much exactly what Mortdog and Whittrock said. The quicker to live, the better.
Enough. Yeah, I think I take issue with the fact that people are saying it's too short. They kind of want to have more refinement, but it takes out some of the excitement. And ultimately, what really comes down to TFT with these sets is I do think that some of the excitement is lost from the fact that PB to live feels like there's no big definitive event that happens in that sense. This also happened in the Hearthstone community when they started doing something similar where they have like these things called theory crafting streams where they revealed all the gameplay of the decks with streamers only, and not everyone could participate at the same time. It took out a lot from the launch day, and there's something special about launch day, right? The idea that everyone's on the same footing, everyone's kind of lost and discovering on its own, and there's like this sense of wonder, and I feel like that's not really existing anymore because of PV. So I have to disagree as well. Chat overwhelmingly disagrees. Now, Nathan, that is a one-sided landslide victory. 95% disagreed. Turns out this wasn't that big of a hot take, but I have seen it posted here and there, people saying that. So I'm glad we got that out of the way.
People
Our last one. Yeah. The internet's wild. This last one is fun. If a tournament happened on day 3 of set release, a 4v4 team of Mortdog, Whittrock, Frodan, and Admirable would beat any lineup of 4 pro TFT players. I'm going to go to Whittrock here to start things off.
I'm going to disagree, and I'm not sure that this is true, but I think I'm the worst player on the ladder of us 4, and so I don't think I'm even close to how good our pro and challenger TFT players are, and so I think I would drag down the team enough that there would be no shot.
Okay, so for clarity, this was supposed to imply it was day 3 of when people are playing the new set. So,
right, so like PBE day 3.
It'd be PBE day 3 equivalent, but it's just worded. It's worded poorly. I apologize.
I can add a piece of flavor there too, which is I don't think we get a huge advantage from like being the ones who make the set. We get some, but I think players like get a lot of information very quickly. I mean, day 3 is tricky, right? Like if this was day 10, I would say that more confidently. Now, I think Mort disagrees with me, so now we get more.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it more. Let's hear it.
Okay, so this is hard because I do agree with Witty that like he's kind of the weak link. Now keep in mind when we say weak link, he's like low diamond, so it's not like he's bad or anything. But like replace Witty with Kent, and I think this actually could be an agree. And you know, Witty was just saying he doesn't think we have that much of an advantage. I just disagree. The one time I can style on challenger players like Socks and everyone in the is like this time, right? We go on PB and they're like, "Wait, how are you building that character? What the hell?" It is a massive advantage at day 3. I think day 3 of live, yeah, we're like close to even or I'm behind again, you know. But this early, yeah, that's like the one time I can run circles around it. So TLDR, the way the question's worded though, I agree with Witty dragging us down, so I'm actually a disagree.
Oh wow, flaming your fellow designer. Okay, I see how it is.
He knows.
Oh, it's true, but you didn't
right
have
there.
to. You didn't have to back him up on this. You could have encouraged him, Nathan.
Dan, not anyone could just cancel the cutscene, all right? Sometimes you have to sit through it, okay? So I'm going to assume that day 3 of the set release means that it's the third day that anyone has seen this outside of the development team. So I am going to take the spot that we do have the advantage of this one. The other spot of this I'm going to take the advantage of is that in the first 3 days of PvE, I was lighting it up. I was getting some big dubs. I was cranking out wins in Ramblins lobbies. Day 4 of this, I was getting stomped. I could not find myself above 6th place, no matter what I did. I found like a 3-star Corky or something before Corky got just gutted in every single aspect, and I still didn't win the lobby. And I was just like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. But I think in the first 3 days, I have it. But if day 2 is day number 4, we're roasted. So I am going to agree it's day 3 only. I think that my intuitive advantage is very strong. And I'm gonna stand by that.
You know what? I agree with your agree. Maybe it's just the fact that we're better looking than them and we are more mature than them and we're just grown humans and you know we also pay our taxes on time. But it's also the fact that I think that the 4 of us, when we put all of our strengths together, we would beat any 4 pro TFT players because for one thing, if it's North America, those 4 TFT players aren't practicing together. They don't have synergy together, and their egos are too big, and we have information edge, and we know how to read data. There's just too many factors that go into our favor that I feel like we would actually be competitive on day 3.
You know
and we could pull the Mortdog lever.
You know what? I'm going to change it to agree. You actually have convinced me.
Yes!
You convinced me. I think we could do it. Especially, to be frank, I watch a lot of NA players early, and they're like, I don't have tactics.tools. I don't know what's going on. So, yeah, I kind of agree with you, actually. They're kind of in shambles without something to copy, so...
Whittrock.
All right. I like
Whittrock.
It. All it is we're just setting it up for them to get riled up and actually challenge us. And that's more dog madness. Let's go. Chat disagrees, but hey, they're watching those players every day, so they're obligated. Their tier 3 subs are on the line otherwise. Well, there you have it. That's our agree segment. That was really fun. And would you believe it? We're only halfway through this bonanza. I apologize, Morton Whittrock, if you have some stuff to do later on because we got some more fun coming your way. We're going to talk a little quickly about esports, the PBE clash that happened yesterday and this morning. Nathan, you can actually lead most of the discussion here. We don't have to go too in-depth in it, but what are some of the stand-up moments for you over the past couple of days of this PBE clash?
Yeah, I'm just going to set like a quick precedent to this one is that it was a very harsh day 2 cutoff to this one. I think it's like the biggest one I've ever seen. It was 32 players down to 8. So if you did not have some very strong finishes, you were making it to day 2. So already day 2 was just like you had to have a stacked performance on day number 1. Honglian, the biggest thing that stood out to me was they actually started their first 3 games in the bottom 4. They finished 5th place, 7th place, and then 5th place. And this is where Honglian ended up. That is just unreal.
Jeez. Very good. It's like China's like pretty good at TFT. Mort, you've been casting alongside, and of course you're also sort of like an ambassador because you're like talking sometimes to the Chinese player base. What is it about China that makes them just that good or that consistent in these kinds of tournaments right now?
I mean, the real talk is their community is kind of divided up in a really interesting way where they have like content creators that are creating hilarious content, finding interactions, finding like really fun stuff. They're pushing to find like to learn a lot about the game. And then the pros take that knowledge and push it to the extreme. And because they have that healthy ecosystem combined with a large amount of players, they usually end up finding stuff very, very quickly. It's now for basically the third or fourth set in a row. Anytime we see something, it's like chances are if China's messaging me about it, it's a problem. And then like NA and EU figure it out about a week to two later. So giving them the severity, but especially in set 6, literally it was like every patch. It was like, okay, China says Katarina's OP. Clock's ticking. 8 days later, okay, Raditz is one-tricking it. Got it. You know.
I'm going to need you to add me to this group chat more so that way I can also get an edge.
This is also how we could beat the pros.
Maybe we should have edited the previous degree to say not a non-Chinese 4v4 team.
True.
Yeah. Then it's a hard agree from all of us.
Yeah.
Because look at it. The 4 Chinese players almost all made top 4. Well, I guess not Li Luo, but yesterday that was kind of the case. It just feels like they're so dominant right now.
The reality is, and I keep saying this, and I know some people disagree with me or don't believe me, but the reality is China's willing to push this game to its limits. We see it in the comps they build. We see it in the things they do. They just take actions that many NA players would be like, what? That's bad. I thought that was terrible. It happened at Worlds like 3 different times. It happened here. It's just, they're just more open-minded is the real talk. And until NA takes that attitude, I don't know how they catch up. So
yeah. Still, we got 3 people in the top 8. Soju made a pretty good run, and honestly, like outside of a couple of games where he threw, I mean, it happens, and I think he put a solid performance. So good stuff all around. Also, Nathan, way to hold down the fort alongside Casanova and crew. So well done to you. Let's move on to our next augment. In the interest of time, we can't stay around on the esports segment too much. This augment is called Reckless Spending. And so what we're doing for Reckless Spending, we can just probably show what we're going to do, is you have to go to your Amazon wish list. Go to Amazon.com right now. It's not an ad, I promise. Buy something, screenshot it, share it to the producer, and we'll show it at the end of the stream for to show a little bit about stuff that you're buying for yourself and treating yourself. And also Reckless Spending, a really funny new augment name. You should definitely check it out if you get a chance. More on that later as I'm about to buy something that is maybe surprising, maybe not that surprising. We'll let you know. In the meantime, we're going to move on to our third augment, which is Think Fast. Now, this augment is a quick game show. We're going to play categories. The way categories works is that one person at a time will be naming something under that category, and there's a certain amount of valid answers. And the next person, if it's valid, they stay alive. The next person has to say a different thing under that category, but they can't repeat something that was said, and they only have 10 seconds. So no repeats, no hesitation. And then from there, it's until the last person surviving, then they get the point. We have 6 categories, and whoever has the most categories won will be the winner. Any questions?
No questions. I'm just trying to finish my Amazon purchase real quick.
Okay. It's just, you say category, we're saying a word that is related to that category that has not been said.
Right. So, for example, one of them could be 1 costs in set 7. And you could just say a bunch of 1 costs like Ezreal or Tom Kench. But again, you can't repeat them and you only have 10 seconds and the producer has a timer. It's just fun. And it's called Think Fast. So just think as fast as you can. And I'm the host, so it's going to be Nathan versus Mortdog versus Whittrock. It's going to be great.
Gosh, I'm about to get stomped.
All right, are you ready?
I feel like.
Sure,
no,
okay.
but yes.
First category is new augments in set 7. Nathan, you're going to start things off.
Think Fast.
Brand new. Think Fast is one of them. That's right. Mortdog.
Best Friends.
Best
Curse
Friends
Crown.
is valid.
Oh.
Sorry.
Curse Crown?
Curse Crown. Yes. Curse Crown. Nathan.
Party time.
Late
Party
game
time is
specialist.
valid. That is valid. Yes.
Best Friends.
I said that.
Best friends is said by Mortdog. Whitrock, you can't repeat.
I was thinking about when he said his answer. I was thinking about Curse Crown.
Oh no! Okay, so Whitrock is eliminated. So now it's just Nathan versus Mortdog. Nathan, you're back.
Ragewing Heart.
Yep. Ragewing Heart is technically valid.
Guild Soul.
All right,
Or
Guild
Soul.
Crown. Well, for the sake of brevity, we'll make sure that all of them count. So I already said one of them, but Astral Heart and Astral Crest, they all kind of count towards the same thing.
I know what these do. I just don't know the name of them. Loot Master.
Loot Master is another one. Yes.
Oh God. Cruel Pact.
Cruel Pact is valid. Yes. Nathan.
Jade Heart.
Okay, sure. Jade Heart works.
Cavalier Unity.
Ooh, that's a good one. The new Prismatic. Nathan.
Dragon Alliance 2.
Dragon Alliance 2 is not a valid answer. There's only one Dragon Alliance.
Yep.
It is a gold Dragon Alliance. That's Dragon Alliance. Oh!
That's just Dragon Alliance.
I'm scammed.
It's just Dragon Alliance, not to be confused with Dragon Horse or Mortdog is our first winner of Category 1 new augments in Set 7. All right, so there we go. Our first one. Congratulations, Mortdog. Our second category. Legendary champions from sets 1 to 3 only. Ooh. Legendary champions from set 1 to 3 only. We start off with Mortdog.
Anivia.
Anivia is from set 1.
Thresh.
Thresh is from set 3.
Singed.
Karthus.
Singed from set 2. Karthus from set 1.
Urgot.
Urgot from set 3.
You're got to be
Nathan?
kidding me. Why can't I remember these from set 1? I know it. I played so much set 1.
5 seconds. All right, Nathan's been eliminated. Mortdog, you're back on the clock.
Misfortune.
Misfortunes in set 1 and set 3.
Gangplank.
Tarek.
Gangplank. Tarek set 2.
Janna.
Amumu.
Oh my god, they're just rattling it off.
Zed.
Yasuo.
Echo.
Lux.
Oh my god, they're gonna name all of them.
Master Yi.
That's right, set 2.
Oh shit. Oh
Still have half of them on the board.
God.
5 seconds.
No, I'm blanking. No, you get this one. I'm blanking.
Okay, Whitrock gets one on the board. There's also Kaisa, Kale, Pantheon, Swain, Aesol, Nami.
Yeah.
Wow, I was getting stomped in this one.
Fun stuff. All right, so that's category number 2. Category number 3 is a fan favorite set. We're going to go set 4 for Fates for 4 and 4.5. Name any origin, not a class, an origin from set 4 or 4.5. We'll start off with Whitrock.
Cultist.
Cultist is the first one.
Ninja.
Ninja is correct. Mortdog.
Fortune.
Oh, fan favorite indeed. Whitrock.
Dusk.
Oh, I love Dusk. Nathan.
I have such trouble. I'm sorry, for what sets?
5 seconds.
4 to what? Beast?
Beast is not a valid answer.
What
Nathan has
was
been
one?
eliminated. Mortdog.
Oh God. It's been so long. I should know this. I'm embarrassed I don't know this.
5 seconds.
Why has it been? It's been a year and a half, man. Oh God. I give up. I'm blanking.
Mortdog is eliminated.
I'm tired. I'm blanking. I feel
Elder
so bad.
Oh dear. All right.
Yeah.
So Whitrock, I'll list off the rest: Divine, Elderwood, Enlightened, Exile, Moonlight, Spirit, Tormented, Warlord, Daredevil, Dragon Soul, Fabled, the Boss.
Dragon Soul. That's the one I was thinking of, but I couldn't think of the soul part of it.
That's right. That's right.
I was
All right, so we're
blinded by
halfway through.
Warwick.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could have just also said Warwick, and I think that also would have counted. Let's go to our fourth category. This one starts to get a little bit harder. There's 32 answers for this one. Tournament winners from North America in any official competitive TFT circuit. They have to have placed first or equivalent of first if it's a qualifier that sent multiple people. We'll start off with Admirable.
Goobums.
Goobums has won multiple.
Spicy Appies.
Spicy Appy's on the board.
Robin Songs?
Robin Songs is the most winning player here. Correct.
Bakigam.
Bakigam also a multi-time winner.
Soju.
Soju has never won any official competitor.
Oh
He
my
came second in
God.
the Challenger Series to New Bowel. Mortdog betting on Soju. Woof. Mortdog's eliminated. Whittrock.
See, I might be dead. Kermex?
Kuramex is set for regionals champion. Nathan.
Newbow.
Oh, that's true. I gave you one answer. didn't I? I apologize. I'm a terrible host. Whittrock.
No, I'm really dead. Soulless?
Solus technically is on this list. That's right. He qualified in one of these events. Admirable?
Wait, what did Souls win?
Solus did a Fates Challenger Series. He won one of the Fates Challenger Series.
Oh, that's right.
He's stalling. He's buying time.
5 seconds. 5 seconds. 5 seconds. 4, 3,
Keen.
2. Keen is not because he's OCE. Unfortunately, I think you meant I copy Keen, and you would have been correct because he did actually win. I'm surprised no one said Delicious Milk.
I-
Who won the most regional.
After I said
recent
Soju,
regionals.
I was thinking milk, and I'm like, oh, and Soju screwed me again. So
Milk, New Bow, Spicy Appies, Kivix, who's won multiple, Robin Songs, Goobums, Asa, Ramblin', Pokygum, Pawn Up, Voidson. Those are just some of the most recent winners.
To be quite honest with you, I'm just having a tough time filtering out like different regional players from my head. It's like I know a lot of winners. I'm like NA region, and I'm like, because it was literally set 6.5 was where I started going across and studying all the region stuff to see who the winners were, and that because Dan had made a strong point. It was like it's like you just need to know the international stuff too, and I just went way in deep on just like reading every single tournament result and like trying to find who had patterns of second, who had patterns of thirds, who had patterns of day twos not making day threes, and so on and so forth. The region thing is the thing I disregarded from all of that study.
By the way, shout out to Gangly and Jirachi who filled out almost all of the Liquipedia history. And going through this has made me also really hyped because I see so many repeat names winning tournaments. I mean, that's a really good sign over the years.
luck-based game.
TFT? You heard it there from Mortdog. TFT, a luck-based game. Let's go to category number 5 right now. Can Mortdog tie Whittrock or he's going to run away with this? Category number 5, Little Legends. There's 41 on the board. We'll start off with Mortdog.
Talker.
That's right. That is one of them.
Hauntling.
Hauntling is one of my favorites.
Dango.
Nathan. Oh, classic.
Poggles.
Poggles is a new one from set 7.
Burnout.
Also from the new set 7.
Those are literally the two I was going to say. River Sprite?
Yep, Sprite cat covers a bunch of them.
Dumpling Sprite.
Oh, I'll give you a
Feather
pass on this,
Knight.
but you
Feather
can't.
Knight.
You can't. Okay, Feather Knight.
Knight.
Yes, you don't say the variations of this.
Okay.
Shisa.
Shisa is one of them. Yes.
Oh gosh. Did we say the penguin thing already?
I will not accept the penguin thing. You have 3 seconds to tell me what his actual name is.
Pango? Penguin?
Pengu is correct.
Ah!
Mortdog.
Umbra.
Umbra. Yes. Umbra's on the list. Whittrock.
Aoshin.
That's right. Aoshin was a Little Legend first.
Chibi?
Nathan? I will let you revise that, and if you can fix in the next 3 seconds.
Yasuo?
Yes, Yasuo is technically a Little Legend. You're correct. Mortdog.
I mean, Chibi Echo.
Yes, that's also correct.
Chonk.
Chonk is a good one for sure. Admirable.
Warwick. I don't know anything.
Thank God this is the last episode. You don't have to face the music after that one. Oh man, no.
I'm
Warwick
so bad
is
at
not.
these. I've used Dango for like 2 years.
Mortdog.
Chibi Vi.
Chibi Vi, that's right. Whittrock?
Chibi Jinx.
Okay, we wrapped it up. No more chibis on the table.
Oh,
Mortdog?
God. See, I'm going to blank on their names. Oh.
5 seconds.
Yeah, I can picture them, but I can't think of their names.
I've got one written on the wall.
All right. Oh, what is it? What's written on the wall?
I am in Paddlemar right now.
There we go. Paddlemar for the steal. Well done. Whittrock, 4 in a row. Can we make it a win out for Whittrock? I think this last category might strike out everybody, but I think this one's really fun. The last category is the top 40 most upvoted posts of all time on r/competitive TFT. You don't have to be exact. You can just kind of talk about broad strokes or the topics. Anything that would resemble some of the most upvoted posts on r/competitive TFT. Whittrock, you're first on the board.
Soju's Twitlonger.
That is correct. Soju Twitlonger comes in the mid-20s. Admirable.
Something about someone random saying Mortdog's an idiot.
That could be any post!
Oh, God! None of these threads have anything to do with flaming Mortdog. You are very incorrect. Couldn't even name one.
A set leak.
You know what? We'll take that. There's been multiple set leaks and set reveals. We'll accept that answer. Whittrock.
Like set to launch hype.
Yes, that actually was there. It's number 27.
What?
Well done. Mortdog.
Complaints about the tournament format.
That technically counts. Yes, that is on the list towards the bottom, of course. Not something super highly talked about. Whittrock.
Well-informed concerns about the game becoming more RNG.
I'm going through my list right now. No, actually, there is none. Believe it or not. And so Whittrock cannot complete the 6-peat, the 5-peat, and Mortdog, who actually has spent a good time amount on Reddit.
Don't remind me.
Actually takes this category. As a
Wait,
little
so
fun.
what were like the top 4 or so?
Here you go. So a flex guide by Mismatched Socks.
Okay.
Double up ladder abuse, which Piba has alerted. Ari positioning by Mismatched Socks. Mortdog's set 6 meta snapshot before the holidays also makes the top 4. And this one, I'm surprised nobody said, but Mort appreciation threads. There's lots of them in the top, which I think is only fitting given that Mort has, you actually have several appreciation threads in some of the top posts of all time. And of course, one of my favorites, Mortdog responds to K3 Soju Twitlonger. That's also in the top 10.
The things we do.
Well, that was Think Fast. Thank you so much for playing Mort, Whittrock, and Admirable. Whittrock is a beast, which brings us to our last major segment before we go to the mailbag and wrap up the show. It's been a great one so far. We want to do a tier list of all tier lists with Mortdog and Whittrock, which is their all-time favorite champions. That's a tier list that you're going to put of your top 10 favorite champions. Now, you can choose to do this independently, but I like a collaborative effort as well. So it's up to you, but I want you two to find a way to put your top 10. So is there a preference on how you want to list this out, Mort or Whittrock?
We can just start naming champions. The first ones that come to mind are probably the top, and then if we rearrange, we'll go. So
okay,
I think Witty probably won't argue with me on this one, but I think number 1 is still Set for Set.
The boss.
The boss!
Yep.
The boss! How did no one name him, man? He was just so iconic to Set for.
Yeah, the idea of a champion running off to do sit-ups is still hilarious and still just amazing. Props to that one. Witty, anything jump out?
Is that a Giovanni special?
It is.
Is that a Giovanni
It's
special?
Giovanni special for sure.
God. I'd say Thresh is probably in the top 10 still. 5-cost Thresh.
Okay. I mean, like around 7 or 8 maybe.
Yeah.
All right, we'll put Thresh at number 8 for now. Set 3 Thresh.
So Thresh pull champions off your bench onto the battlefield. People used to use this with a cheese strategy with Urgot to pull Urgots to one-shot kill their opponent's carries.
Would you put set 6 Tom Kench on this list?
Oh yeah, but feeding you literal units, the different things players did with feeding Yordles and hyper roll, or getting crazy amounts of stats from feeding a 3-star 5 cost to a Tom Kench. Oh yeah,
yeah.
So we can put that like number 3 for now.
I love it.
All right, your turn, Woody.
I don't know exactly how high I would put this, but I think set 3 Gangplank as maybe our most like iconic, just big boom.
yeah. I mean, I think that goes at number 5. That had balance issues, but like it is our most iconic 5-cost spell go boom. Oh god, I need to like pull up a list to really help. Who were the set 3 legendaries? Because there were some other good ones in there.
Ooh, I have that list on hand. So set 3 legendaries were Aurelion Soul, Echo, Gangplank,
Echo.
Lulu, Misfortune, Thresh, Xerath, Janna, Urgot.
I think Echo goes on the list. Echo goes on the list for sure. Probably like
Cybernetic Echo.
Number 9, give or take. So yeah, so we have Gangplank at 5 and Thresh or Echo at like 9.
Echo at 9. Echo from set 3. He was a cybernetic assassin, I think.
Yeah,
was it infiltrator? Infiltrator was technically.
Yeah, infiltrator. He did the ult that paused things.
Yep. Yeah, his little time warp, really really dope.
Lee Sin also set 4 Lee Sin, kicking punching rather units off the map. I don't know where I'm not putting
number 8.
Spot,
number 8.
But...
Number 8 for now. Any of the set 1, like set 1 Yasuo? Would that be on your list?
Yeah, as a like introduction to what a like flashy 5 costs could be. I think we've come a long way, but
all right. So Yasuo at number 10 then. Set 1 Yasuo. Okay, so yeah. So here's a non-legendary. I'm curious your opinion. Darkstar Jhin.
Yeah, Darkstar Jhin. Yes.
Maybe at number 4 where he belongs.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Was that the first time Jhin was in TFT? I think set 3, right?
Yes, and that's why like that 4th shot that would just crit for like a bajillion. That was fun. Yeah, set 3 Bard actually. That's a good one for like number 8.
Ah, yes, the meeps
with the
meeps that he used to print. That's so fun. I remember that.
Print XP.
One of the first times we truly saw Fast 9 being a big part of the meta.
Yep.
Now I got to think about other non-5 costs, and if there's anything else that hits the list that's not a 5 cost. It might be cheating, and I don't know how I want to rearrange the list, but Lux, set 2 Lux, but it's more like having a multi-unit more than just what Lux was.
All right, how about set 2 Lux at number 9 and move everything else up to Gangplank.
Okay. I mean, that was really cool. So for people who don't know, you didn't play set TFT during this time. There were different origins that Lux could be. So it was kind of like a chosen moment, right? You only can have one of them in your shop, but it would be Lux having a specific trait. And when you do, you committed to it. It was very, very cool at the time. And I mean, now you see the modern version of it with 8 cost dragons.
Let's see. 1 cost Leona and 1 cost Fiora have been in a lot of sets, aren't they? On this?
1 cost Fiora. Okay, turn off the chat, Mortdog, please.
Hey, I kind of liked the 4 cost Fiora from what we saw in the recent one.
From set 6. That was pretty.
I thought that unit was awesome. Like the fact that it was like she was acting so quick that you just didn't even know it was happening. As the rest of the fight just continued, it was like such a beautiful thing. When I was like, "What does this Fiora do?" And then, like,
very flashy.
When I saw someone just equip the right items to that, and that thing just started obliterating units, I was like, "Oh, Fiora, okay, I'm in."
The only other one that's coming. Oh, go ahead, Wade.
I was gonna go set for Azir as well. A lot of these, as I'm thinking about them, are like, they were also good for like the game, like showing us new things that TFT can have, and so a unit that
Yeah.
gave you placeable units was very, I think, important for the game.
All right, let's put Azir at like number 3. So it's Set, Tom Kench, Azir, Jhin.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's 10.
And I think that's 10. So Set, Tom Kench, Azir
Here.
from set 4.
Yep.
Then Jhin.
Yep.
Gangplank, Thresh, Bard, Echo, Lux, then Yasuo. Let's get one final look. That seem right? Yes, it does. And so much good memories.
I mean,
nothing from
Malzahar
set
above
5.
all of them, of course, but you know.
Yeah, yes,
Darius
Cat's,
above all.
Cat's not on this tier list. Nothing from set 5.
Yeah, poor set 5.
Interesting. Interesting. Yikes.
I mean, I liked Gwen, but I don't think Gwen was quite good enough to put on this list. So
yeah. I liked dying the Teemo and
oh yeah, Cruel Teemo. Cruel Teemo.
Cruel Teemo was
very
pretty cool.
Design. Yeah,
I thought Akshan looked cool for what he did. I thought it was pretty dope. The swings were pretty awesome. But yeah, I think this is a great list, and I think they pretty much cover some of the best hits in terms of really impactful champions that just had good feel and also a lot of flashiness. So with that, let's move on to the final segment, which is the mailbag / giveaway.
Wait, do we have wide spending or
what's that?
Do we have the spending one or the?
Oh, I mean that was going to be at the very end.
Okay, got it. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, because the very end where we kind of do this like last wrap up of the show, we're going to show off everything. So the mailbag is but thank you for calling that out. Keep people engaged. We're doing 2 questions. We're doing one from Discord, which is the one we're about to do right now, but also there's going to be a chat giveaway for $10. That's right. Earn some extra bucks before we close up shop. That's right. Just type in a question for Mort or Whittrock or anybody, and they will look at the questions and they'll pick one to answer, and then you'll win that $10 gift card. In the meantime, we'll stall as long as we can with the Discord question that we have here. From SDR, are there any interesting TFT player statistics that stand out, such as age, gender, race, or time spent playing versus rank? This is something that maybe Whittrock could start off.
I don't think I have I've heard bits and pieces of this, but I think this is really one that Mort is better to answer.
Yeah, some of this, we can't reveal, but the one I can talk about here is the time spent playing versus rank. It's one of those interesting ones where, I'm curious before I give you the answer, Frodan and Admirable, what are your guys' instinct on like normal to ranked? What is the percentage of hours in ranked?
I would assume that it is something like 80% of the games played are at ranked and 20% are normals.
I was going to say the literal exact same thing. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are pretty close, but it's closer to like 87%. It's like an overwhelming majority. And the revelation here is that it turns out when players like to play competitive games, they like a progression system that says, I'm making progress in this competitive game. And so for a lot of players, when they play normals, it's just like, okay, it's fun, but like why? And they kind of lose motivation. Ranked provides that progression. Which goes back to that thing where I said, remember set 2 where we didn't turn on ranked for the first 2 weeks?
Right.
So you've got your hypest moment where a bunch of players are coming in to play your new set and you give them no progression system. That was a brilliant idea. And so that was one of our biggest blunders looking back. We learned very quickly from that one. But yeah, turns out players really like to make progress on things. So
it's true. I think, the idea that it like makes a lot of sense too, because you look at double up, and double up, a lot of people want to play it competitively, but just don't feel like they have it, despite the fact that there's still tiers. You get like blue and hyper or like purple tier or whatever. They just felt like there wasn't rewarding enough, and that's why when you were announcing the double up news, I think a lot of people are really excited for that. But at the same time, Nathan, it feels like what happened to playing for fun. I guess TFT is just not a game that people play that casually for fun on the side, huh?
I think that just part of the fun is challenging yourself with it. There's so many creative and intuitive things, and the fact that the balance patches keep rolling out consistently too, even that changes up the stuff that you're very familiar with at that point. I just kind of had like a self-enlightenment point here. I was like, why don't I play double? I love double up. And literally the reason I think is because there was no ranked system. Like there wasn't like the same definitive ranked system in there. Like it's a weird like self-enlightenment point almost from like, oh my gosh, is this why I don't play that much double up? Because I love double. I think it's sick. I like
really
making
fun.
3-star
Really
units,
fun.
and I like also, baiting people into going for 3-star units. And I remember one of my best games ever where it was actually Chalky and I were playing, and one of our opponents was going for a 3-star 4-cost, and we each had 2 of them pop up in our shop. And rather than buy them and motivate them to go that way, we just instead froze our shops for the rest of the game as they rolled away all their gold, and we just casually went to 9.
Yeah, I think there's also a lot of unique strategies that formed in Double Up that a lot of the general population did not know, because it's just not something that was largely advertised. But you can only do certain things in Double Up mode that you can't really do in solo queue. So I think that's a lot of cool things to develop. In the meantime, by the way, we're stalling for Mort and Whittrock to pick a question. So Whittrock, if you see a question that either in the chat, I think they posted some of them in Discord, go ahead and pick them. And let us know. Okay, so he has decided. Whittrock, hit me with it.
Okay, so this was a question from Yellow Supercar 001, which is, what will TFT be in the next 5 years? How will you make TFT more engaging to new gamers that want to engage with TFT while keeping the player base interested after the introduction of augments? A big question, and we're not going to have exactly what the game is going to be like in 5 years. We're not even past our first. We're not even 5 years in at this point. But I want to pick this question because I think Mort gets to be doing streams, is on a lot, and I like to take the opportunity to talk about what I hope and wish for out of TFT. And fundamentally, I think the game still, a big game. I think our audience is I deeply appreciate how many people play TFT. It blows me away every day. But I think this game has a long journey ahead of it. I can imagine myself and people playing TFT 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And there's no guarantees, right? Like games, crazy things have happened in video games over the years. But I think the core of auto battling and the core of being next to League of Legends, a game that is also not going, is in year 12, not going anywhere, has me very excited for the future. And then quickly, a piece of this question is new gamers. This is also something we're going to have to focus on in some part of the future, right? Is the game is getting more and more complicated. We've added augments. We have the treasure dragon. I think traits and champions are getting a little bit more complicated every set. So how do we get brand new players who know nothing about TFT and want to join? How do we get them in? Again, I'm not actually answering this question. It's the real thing.
Yeah, to jump in a little bit here, I think one of the things that gives TFT that's competitive advantage that we will be able to be successful in the long term is the fact that every 6 months we start over, right? And so every 6 months, if a player wants to come in, assuming we've done our job and we fix things like introduction to the game and things like that, it's like there's a new time to come in. You don't need a past collection of cards. You don't need to understand deck building. You just start playing the game, and there's a good time to come back. And we've been pretty clear that we're open with like people taking breaks and coming back, and like that's what we want. And so I think the reality is we're going to keep doing that. The challenge for us, but when I say challenge, it's actually an exciting challenge, is TFT is its most successful when you're like, oh my god, I get to do that crazy thing I never thought of? What? I get to heal up to 100 and then kill their entire team? What? Like, that's the stuff that I think keeps me and Witty up at night in a good way. It's like, what new rule can we break this time? What crazy thing are they not expecting this time? And I think we have enough ideas to keep that going. But also, it's just, we've got to evolve with the industry as well. So yeah, it's a lot of, I think, sort of maybe generic answers, but the reality is we're going to keep doing what we're doing, keep doing it better, and every set's going to keep getting better and better and better. There might be some bumps along the way, but we ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
5 years from now, TFT now has entered the metaverse. You link up your virtual reality, augmented reality headset. You are in the convergence. And just when you think you've seen it all, when Yasuo does his finishing animation on you, you feel the pain slice across your chest.
Ah!
TFT is now a game of the highest stakes possible. Your livelihood is on the line. Gladiator combat has never been more intense through the virtual metaverse. I'm just telling you.
That's just Squid Game at this point. Oh, that's terrifying.
Thank you so much, Yellow Supercar, for that question. That was fantastic. And, I think that the breakdown from Whittrock and more, they're really optimistic. I think we are as well. Every time we feel like, yeah, maybe we've seen it all, I feel like y'all really surprised us. And I think we can't wait to see what's going to happen in 5 years. And hopefully we have a show that can also continue to reflect that, even if it's not Teamfight Talkshow.
I've been wanting to say this like the entire time, and I'm glad that it's been able to at least hold myself to the end of this. But I've been playing Magic since 1996. In every single set that comes out, I still go look at the cards and I read them. Even if I don't like them and I don't have a visual appeal or what have you, I still go look at them. And inevitably, I still end up buying some of them too.
Yeah, he does that too.
But it's like the old school Magic is like where my focus is. And honestly, it's just like the more that Magic has developed, the more I've realized it's like this isn't for me anymore. But we're looking at 1993 was when Magic came out, and it's still being made to this day. It's at its most popular point in today, and it has continued to do that year after year. Like, despite that, Teamfight Tactics to me is my number one game, and it just has become that so much as I've just poured more and more into it, because it's like the deeper and deeper you go, it's like the further and further it looks. And it's just like this broad horizon that seems like it has these endless possibilities to it. And that there's so many ways to capitalize on it. And it just will continue to go and continue to go. It doesn't stop. It's like such a beautiful thing to me. And I wish I could express this in a quantifiable way to y'all. That this is just, the game is beautiful. It is a masterpiece. And I hope it just never ends. Like, where is it in 5 years from now? I hope it feels like the start for y'all.
Can't say it better myself. Let's show a little bit about what we did spend with our money. Nathan said that he buys Magic cards. Hopefully he didn't buy more Magic cards on his reckless spending. At the top of the show, we showed an augment of what people spent their money on. Does this surprise anybody? This was on my wish list. This is a dragon-themed sequin dance blazer.
Amazing.
I'll be wearing this in an upcoming tournament. So this is what I bought. Now let's see someone else. Who bring up anybody else? Mort, what'd you buy?
Yeah, so I got a monitor mount. So I have that one of like the super widescreen monitors, which is great. But if I want to stream console games ever, I need to get a second monitor that I can input the console onto and then stream from there. So I've been meaning to do this. It's been a project I've been wanting to like set up the console streaming. So if I want to do that, so this forced my hand.
If you get a good monitor setup, can you send it to Bryce? This man's still using 1080p monitors that have auto resolution, so he actually can't see the borders of his windows. It's actually egregious.
Gosh,
please send it to him.
I love my monitor.
Whittrock.
All right, well, this was the purchase I've needed to make. You can see here that I have purchased this pen set 5 times before. I love colorful pens. I'm holding one right now. I am an amateur pen spinner, so I must always have a pen. But my apartment is littered with pens. My desk is littered with pens, so more pens.
All right, today.
When's your birthday, by the way, Whittrock? I think I know it. I think I know exactly what to get you.
Yes,
please. Fantastic. And Nathan, our project coordinator. Coordinator sent in a hammock. No, do we even need commentary about this? Please go to rest.
Well, the commentary about it, I guess I'll go ahead and provide here, is that I actually don't have an Amazon account. I live in California, and mortgage is incredibly expensive, and I don't have any dollars to spend. I spend about $6 a week on some artificial sweeteners for drinks. The rest of it goes to mortgage and food. So I just can't afford to buy anything is really what it boils down to. So
and TFT skins. He's about to drop it for that Yasuo finisher.
Which I will go 3 windows deep apparently, and eventually block due to my passion for hating any sort of offensive GG. And yes, I said offensive GG.
That's right. That's right. That brings us to the end of the show. Let's get some final thoughts and wrap up, and then we have a video to show you all. But let's also hear from the panels first. So starting off with Whittrock.
Yeah, so I feel like I may have already done a lot of my like hope for TFT's future, so I'll keep it short. But I'm just very excited for Set 7 launch. Excited to jump into some live games and some ranked, and hopefully I see some folks in chat on the ladder maybe, and hopefully everyone's having a good time playing some TFT.
Fantastic. Mortdog?
Yeah, I mean, you could do the usual wrap up TFT, but I feel like the thing I need to talk about is the show. That finding out this was the last episode of the show was a little, sad. I think the show's been a lot of fun to follow. It's given us views into different parts of the community and different ways to interact. It's helped me get to know the community better. So a little sad to see that go, and hopefully we find, a way to keep. I mean, the community will keep going because it is, and if anything, it's going stronger. It's just. It's another like sort of we'll look back in the history of TFT and I think you'll look fondly on this and some of the segments and stuff. So I'm gonna miss it. And thank you to everyone behind the scenes who's put the show on. So it's been fun.
Absolutely. Admirable?
Well, thanks for bringing me on board. Again, I feel like it's kind of my bad luck that's causing the 8 roll here as we hunted for the 3 stars. But Teamfight Talkshow this was something that was fantastic for me. It came at a point in my life where 2022 has been a very odd year for me, but this certainly was like a point that helped me relax a lot, was just to focus on something that brought me a lot of joy in my life and took me away from all of the weird real life aspect things that were kind of coming up, and just reminding me to like just stop and think and just take your time and take a deep breath. And just the game brings me a lot of joy, and this show has brought me a lot of relaxation despite a lot of the real life stress that's been taking place. And I'm sad to see it close, but honestly, it's been just an absolute joy to be here.
Absolutely. One door closes and many other opens. Many podcasts have started in the past set alone, right? You have Triforce Tactics with Appies, Ramkev, and Jirachi. You have High Roll Radio, which is started by Gangly and getting a bunch of guests. I do a podcast with Bryce, Don't Talk If You Don't Know. There's the Roll Down. Ace has started his own podcast. There's lots of great content to get to know all the community. So don't feel like just because Teamfight Talk Show is over here, that's the end of any insight behind the scenes around the TFT convergence. For me personally, I've been here since the very beginning, starting it with Travis and Doa and now Nathan. It's just quite a journey. And, I want to thank the Wisdom people for just believing in the TFT community. Back then, they got me in a call and they said, what do you want to do? And I said, honestly, I just think we need a place where people can gather. And gather we did. The community really rallied. Mort showed up. I want to thank our very first guest, Disguised Toast. If you remember, our very first episode was with Disguised Toast. And then we had Becca, and then we had Milk, and then everything just started snowballing from there. I couldn't be more thankful that I got to basically be at the captain's helm from this entire part of the journey. And I really hope that we can, maybe find ways to bring back some kind of Teamfight Talk Show in the future. I'm sure we're not 100% done. But with that, Teamfight Talk Show is coming to a close. And we want to thank all the viewers, most importantly, the guests and the talent that's been crucial to making this all happen. We're so proud of what we've been able to create over and over again in the past 2 years. And thank you all for tuning in one last time. For Frodan, Admirable, Mortdog, and Rock, this has been Teamfight Talk Show.